I used to be homeless. I'm going to tell you how it happened, what the experience was like, so that you can learn from my mistakes and avoid being homeless yourself, because it is possible. Welcome to Finish First Financially. I'm Goran Radanovic. If you're sitting at home, comfortable, you're fine, you've got food, you've got everything going for you, and you think, well, this video isn't for me, I'm never going to be homeless. Just keep in mind that 50% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And a statistic that's even scarier than that is that 60% of Americans who are making six figures annually are also living paycheck to paycheck. So just think about that. In the so called richest country in the world, more than half of the people are struggling financially. They're living from one month to the other. They can't wait for their income to come in so that they can pay all of the expenses, hopefully have enough to cover all of the expenses and debt in order to carry on into the next month. So in 2017, I became homeless. I opened up a business with partners. It was a nightclub, and everything seemed to be going well. Initially, I was the majority shareholder, and when the nightclub went into a difficult period, we had to fund all of the expenses. Now, I didn't have the money to fund those expenses. My partners did that for me. But in order to make up for my shortfall, I had to sell a portion of my shares. And when I did that, I became the minority shareholder. My partners thought that they could run the business better than me, so they fired me. There I was, fired from the business that I started. I did it by myself. And the biggest problem was not only was I fired from the business that I started, but I had no income. I couldn't pay rent. I had a mountain of debt. I had $40,000 in debt. And at the end of the month, the landlord came to me and told me that I needed to pay the rent or move out. And I had no money. I had absolutely no savings, no investments, no income, and just a lot of debt. I was suffocating financially. So I sold my furniture, I sold my appliances, and the rest of the stuff I put into the back seats of my car. I put it into the boot, filled up my car. With nobody to turn to, I drove across the road and parked my car on the side of the road next to a building. At the time, I think I was about 32 years old. I'd obviously just recently owned a business. I had more than 10 years of work experience. I had 2 finance degrees. And all of that meant absolutely nothing because there I was at the age of 32, homeless. It was truly a unbelievable time. It's one of those things that you can't fathom that you're in that situation. You always think whenever you're going to get in, if you get into trouble, somebody's going to bail you out or the money's going to come from somewhere. It's never going to get to that point where you end up physically on the street. So for me to say that experience was surreal, it's probably an understatement. It really was an unbelievable time. I remember thinking that I was in my car the one night, and this was like in autumn going into winter, so it was really cold, and I couldn't even lie in the back seat because my stuff had filled up my car. So I was just in the driver's seat. I don't think I even had a blanket. I can't remember. I was just so cold, and I looked around me. It was quiet at night. Everybody was inside, and I just thought, I can't believe this is happening. It's truly surreal. It felt like I was watching a movie through the main actor's eyes. I had his point of view, yet I was that actor. And I remember one night when I was parked beside the building and it was cold and I was hungry, I looked up at the building and there was a light in one of the apartments. And I thought, oh man, that person is just so lucky. They're in a warm environment, they've probably got food, they watching TV, they're relaxed. Their life must be so amazing compared to mine. I mean, in general, even not comparing it to mine, that is a wonderful life. And that's one of the things that I took for granted. Yeah, I realized all these little things that we have: roof over our heads, electricity, water. I mean, there was no bathroom for me to use at night. I had to use a bottle. It was completely embarrassing. And nobody even knew about my situation. I didn't speak to anybody. I didn't really have anybody to turn to. But even if I could get in touch with somebody, I think I would have been just too embarrassed to tell them about my situation. So during the day, there was a hotel close to where I parked my car. I would go there to check my emails. I could connect to the Wi-Fi in their lounge. But one of the problems was that the lounge was close to their kitchen. So where I was sitting, I could smell the aroma from their buffet area. And I remember the one time the meat that they made was just so delicious. I got a whiff of it and I turned to the buffet area. I was watching these people dish up. Now, keep in mind that at the time I had very little money, and the only money that I had was reserved for food. And I didn't know when I was going to get work. So I'd come there, check my emails, searching for work, and just use that little bit of money that I had on food. And all I could afford daily was two rolls. That was it. I ate two bread rolls every single day. Just that. Nothing on them, no spread on the rolls, just two plain rolls. So you can imagine I lost a significant amount of weight. And now I'm getting a whiff of this meat that just must be so delicious. I can only imagine. And my stomach starts rumbling, it wants to eat. I remember that day very well, and I think I'll remember it for the rest of my life. And that's why I'm so grateful to have food anytime I eat, whatever it is. I'm not picky with any food, even though I can afford very nice food now. I'll just eat just about anything because I'm grateful to have food. So that was one of those tough experiences that I had on the street. There was also a sports ground close to the hotel that I used to visit, and I'd use the sports ground's bathrooms to shower, to brush my teeth. And the worst part was that I couldn't really access the sports club at night when I needed to go to the bathroom. So that's why I had to use my water bottle. I just remember that time as absolutely destroying my ego, making me very humble. And if you thought that was the worst that could happen, I'd actually defaulted on my car finance because I had financed my fancy BMW. I thought I was cool driving a luxury car, which I couldn't afford. So 3 months prior to being on the street, I hadn't paid for the car. The bank called me. They said, please just make any payment. We don't want to do this. We don't want to go down this road. Make any kind of payment to us. And I had very little money for food. That was all I had. And I said to them, I can't. They told me, we're coming to fetch the car. Unfortunately, that's what has to happen. So there I was now without a car. The fortunate thing that happened to me was that a friend of mine found out about my situation and offered me a place to stay. So he was my saving grace, my angel that came to rescue me, and I'll always be grateful for his help. But that was an extremely difficult period in my life. I learned a lot about myself and how easily anybody can end up on the streets, and I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And that's one of the reasons that I started this channel, is to help people realize how close they are to the street and really shock them with the truth, shake them to the core so that they understand the seriousness of the situation and that they start implementing new money management techniques, skills that they need to learn so that they can get on the path to financial freedom. And the whole point of this channel is to help such people, to get them to come and talk to me on the channel so that it's broadcast to everybody else can learn from those mistakes. And if that's you, if you'd like to get in touch with me, email me at finishfirstfinancially@gmail.com. All of that information will be in the description box below. Let's fix your financial situation so that you don't have to be out on the street like I did.